This is Papa Smurf. You're listening to Our Lifestyle, the podcast, with ODB and the mayor.
Yo, this is Rob Maggi, and you're listening to Our Lifestyle podcast.
Yo, it's ODB from OLP. This is episode 326, and we've got a lot to talk about, but I want to welcome a friend of ours, a big supporter, and a guest co-host. I don't know if he knows it, but a guest co-host for this week, Mr. Kyle Fannin. How you doing, my brother?
Pretty good, Jason. Got the call-in number here, so I guess I am the guest co-host because Miggity Mike, is he out gallivanting?
Dude, he's out gallivanting, helping neighbors or something. I said, Mike, dude, you got a podcast, man. We're fresh off LST. We got to get these stories out. And, of course, he chucked me right to the weeds, man. But, hey, you know what they say in show business, right? Show must go on.
It must go on because right now we're under the big top, too. So,
right?
Kick it off from LST.
Yeah, I can't wait. We have a lot to talk about. We do want to thank our title sponsor, Custom Car Show Productions. Their next event in conjunction with Keg Media is Orange Beach Invasion. I would just remind people, go to obishow.com. That's their new website. Of course, we're T-minus less than 2 weeks now. It's the 24th, 25th, 26th of March, and that's going to be at the Wharf in Orange Beach, Alabama. And then, of course, the 21st annual Lone Star Throwdown last weekend in June. Thanks again to the Custom Car Show production team for what they do and sponsoring our podcast. But Kyle, it's going to be cool to sit down with you this week because for those that don't know, kind of the overview is you're going to be the guest co-host. Like I said, I don't know if you know that, but we're also going to intertwine. I'm going to try to weave in some questions. That way, it's keeping it fresh. And at OLP, Kyle, we got to keep it fresh, man.
We got to keep it fresh. You got to keep it going.
Fresh like a fresh pair of Reebok pumps, man. I want. Can you even buy those anymore?
Just got me a fresh pair last week.
Dude.
The retro, the Shacks, it's been 30 years or more since I had a pair of pumps, and I figured I was due. So you'll see me cruising my 94 OBS in my pumps.
Dude, pump it up. Mike didn't realize when Will Smith was like, yeah, I got on sneaks, but I need a new pair because the basketball court, has got, some girls in the summer. Mike didn't know, like he was out there. He had, he doesn't like to talk about it, but the photos I've seen of him, he had like I'm not making fun of anybody, but he had the ones with the little Velcro deals, and I was like, that's kind of weird, like in the late 80s, early 90s, you know what I mean?
I think I saw him last week in those at LST. Was he still wearing Velcro shoes?
Yeah, he does, because he said, like, when, it's easier for him to get his shoes on, you know what I mean? And I'm not making fun of, because I know, like, some people, when they do get older, it does, but, Mike, I don't know, maybe he's pushing 60, I don't know, man.
Well, I can see it. He might have more years on than Hank.
Oh, yeah, man, I don't know about that. The overview of this episode is brought to you by Hammered Weekend Wear. They recently dropped 2 new features, so visit HAMMERD, weekendwear.com, and you can pick up the Isuzu mini truck shirt, or they got an awesome car with graphics. And check those guys out. Good people, hammeredweekendwear.com. But Kyle, before we really get into it, man, like I said, I got to bob and weave in this episode because I want to keep things fresh, and I think we can pull off an episode where people will appreciate. But I want to ask you also a couple of questions because some may remember you were on when we featured you at SEMA. We were talking to different folks out there, but why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Who is Kyle Fannin?
All right, so I'm Kyle Fannin, and I recently just turned 40 years old last week.
Happy born day.
Yeah, happy born day. So I'm into trucks. Been building trucks for, I guess, 22 years now. My first truck I built was a 98 S10 Blazer. It was four-wheel drive, but I actually lowered it and put a ground effects package on it back then.
Damn.
That's actually my only mini truck I've owned. After that, I moved on to full sizes, and I've had quite a few full sizes since then, and still have one. I have a 2000 NBS that I built 20 years ago and still have. Yeah. I had that last year at EBGD, the first annual inaugural.
Yeah, because
what do we call?
Yeah, because Mike was
What are we
saying
calling that one?
first annual, and I go, Mike, you can't do that. I mean, it's an inaugural, and you know that.
Yep. So that was the first show it was at in 12 years, and it hasn't been back out since then. It's still put away with the cover over it. But I've had that thing have it half my life now. You know, I built it 20 years ago. Now that I'm 40, like, gonna be with me forever, I think.
I love it. You know you're balling when you got a fresh new pair of kicks, right? Some pumps, right? But you also got the truck from 20 years. Like, you didn't have to flip it back in the day, and that's pretty cool. Talk to us a little bit about it, because I want people to understand too, because you go to shows and some people might see on social media and stuff and go, oh man, must be nice, man, getting to go to all these shows. But you've been hustling for a long time with your career, man.
Yeah. So, going on 20 years now as a fireman. I live right outside of Washington, D.C. in Southern Maryland. Work for the D.C. Fire Department. I've been there on 13 years now. Before that, I worked down in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina for 5 years, and met some good guys down there too. Worked on trucks together from the GM full size forum back in the day. I don't know if you were on that, but that was one of the big ones. That and the full size Chevy, and met a lot of people that way. So, matter of fact, I go to Carlisle every year to All Truck Nationals, and for the past, I guess this will be the 19th year. Like, I still go with the same group, fullsizechevy.com. Like, we have they have a parking area for us. They set a tent up, and like I said, 19 years. So first one I went to was in 2004 with that MBS.
Dude, that's awesome. Yeah, a couple things there. Number one, tip of the cap to you. Anybody that is kind of first responder, military, utmost respect, man. Because I mean, you guys are putting your life on the line. And I want to dive into that a little bit. But you mentioned Carlisle, and I think it's worth noting, like, I love seeing Johnny Garage Johnson and his videos on YouTube and stuff. They really, you talk about a truck culture. I hate to say, I've never been, but I see those different areas that they set up. I mean, how smart is that? Just catering to their clientele, the people, the true enthusiasts, man, like you guys.
Yeah, they have, like, the low show, I think. Like, that just started back for, like, the mini trucks and all the stuff that's back and all the lowriders. They have an area set up to, like, we can drag your frame and destroy that and throw sparks.
Yeah.
I think they do burnouts. They have semis there. It's quite a different, like, show. It's, it's not LST by any means, but it's a pretty cool thing. And last year, I think they had almost 2,500 trucks there and set the record. So, truck shows are back.
Dude, they're back, baby. Like, pump it up, right?
Pump it up. Yeah, I'll probably be rocking those new Reebok pumps there this year.
Yeah, dude, when are we going to get, remember, the Pump It Up was the 3-on-3 basketball. You know what I mean? It could be me, Biggity Mike, and Kyle Fannin, and we could go out there and ball out,
I'm down. Can we have Hank as the sub?
Dude, Hank's the sub. He might coach, because if anybody, it was, we're coming up on the anniversary of Above the Rim that Tupac was in. That came out back in the day, mid-90s, 95, I think. And if you look, there's an article out there that Tupac might have been the greatest basketball coach of all time. They break down how his teams come back from crazy deficits in the movie. So, I mean, we might have to try to get Hank to play Birdie, who Tupac was in the movie. So we'll have to see, man.
We'll be shirts for skins?
Right.
Or how are we going to do this? Is Hank going to make us be the skins, or?
Well, yeah. See, the thing is, I mean, Mike, he refuses to be the skins. You know what I mean? Because he just said, I don't know. Yeah. He said, he hasn't been working out like you and I. You know what I'm saying? We've been hitting the weights.
That's right. hitting it hard. Get those curls in.
Yeah, buddy. I do want to give a shout out to Aaron Combs because I wanted to tie something in. And I want you to talk about in a second where you grew up. But when you mentioned Carlisle and stuff, and I don't give enough shout-outs to Aaron Combs with the show that they throw up there, Dropped, DROPT, out. We've had Aaron on in the past. And, I would tell people, if you are in or around that Ohio area, the dropedout.com has more information on the show. So, you guys can check it out. I think it's September 9th and 10th each year. But again, there's a rich history of truck enthusiasts and shows and that type of thing. But just to kind of lead in, right? So talk to us a little bit about, you mentioned Ohio, but you have roots that go back there, right?
Yeah, so that's where I grew up. I lived the first 21 years of my life in Ohio. That's where my family's at. And I ended up moving to Myrtle Beach and worked there for 5 years before I moved up to Maryland and got hired in D.C. So I've been all over the East Coast, up and down, which is cool because I've got to go to different shows too. Like over the last 20 years, Cruise Fest was one of the wildest shows I've ever been to.
Yeah, I just saw that one in an old flip through a mini Truckin. I'd never been to it, but that's funny you say that.
Yeah, I actually found some pictures and video, and I sent them to LMC recently, and we were talking about Cruise Fest probably about a month ago, and that was a wild one for a 20-year-old to go to.
Yeah,
so.
And Mike didn't want me to talk about this because, he did want me to kind of throw some cover. He's, I think, working. We got him back laying the vocals for the debut album. So when he hears like LMC from LCD down with OLP, like starts like the lyrics just start going. So I said, Mike, dude, we've got to work on the Gallivanting Man, the debut album. And then, of course, it's Mike with the Gallivanters. You know what I mean? So he's got his buddy Dusty and Kim. And I think Mrs. Mayor, Shannon, I think she's going to lay down some, the chorus, in some of the tracks.
Dude, that'd be sick. I can't wait to cruise the loop there at LST next year and watching Miggity Mike the Mayor with like a mixtape or a fresh CD burnt, like, sling it in my window.
Dude, yeah. I mean, because, nobody can really sling it like DJ Mays. And I'll tell you what, I saw DJ Mays. You guys can follow him on Twitch. He was there slinging. He's got the little USB deals for a very fair price. So when you get those, you can plug those in your portable speakers, or if you got one of those head units. Head units are kind of old school now, but if you plug that little USB deal in, man, you got tunes for days. But I don't know that Mike is ever going to get blessed by DJ Mays for his debut album. I don't know.
I can see it though. If it happens, I definitely want to get one of those fresh burnt CDs. I'll break out one of my old Alpine head units from like 20 years ago just to put it in there and play.
I like it. Now, when you talk about moving and you made it down to Myrtle Beach, like basically, were you fresh out of high school? You decide, hey, I want to do this as a career, and like, was that a big jump for you to move down? I mean, it's pretty far away.
Yeah, it's about a 500-mile distance from Ohio to Myrtle Beach. So I'm actually fifth generation. My family goes back to the late 1800s.
Wow.
Of all being firemen. Yeah. So my cousins, they're firemen. And, it's all I've done. My whole life is that, and that's what I grew up in. And then trucks are the other part of my life, which is funny. I'm big into the full size trucks, but my dad, growing up, he was actually into fire trucks. He collects fire trucks. And he's probably had, more than a half dozen of like large fire trucks from like the 1930s.
I
50s.
thought you were thinking like a die cast, but no, real size.
No. Oh yeah. Like ones you get in and you drive and you can pump water out of, like the real deal Holyfield, as you would say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, so that's really where I started wrenching, was on my dad's old fire trucks. It was like tinkering and helping him work on those. So, and then it transitioned into working on show trucks. So,
yeah, I want to ask you some more about that, because like when you think you got my mind going, I watch a lot of documentaries and things like that. And, you hear about some of the crazy epic fires that the country has had over the years with different cities and stuff. When you're learning about that stuff, do they ever talk about some of those like tragic events and things like that? Because I remember watching some of the documentaries, this, like back in the day before the fire trucks, some of the early guys, right, they had those things where they would have two guys, one on each side going, right, pumping.
So oddly enough, my dad owns one of those.
Oh, really?
My dad has one of those. He has it's an 1890s hand pumper. It's hand pulled and it's hand pumped. So you actually have to pull it there, and then you have to pump it once you get there.
Wow.
And he's had that, man, almost 30-some years now. And last fall, we took it to a show here in Maryland, and we got to have my son help pump it with us. So we had 3 generations pumping, 140-year-old fire engine.
And it still works.
So
I mean, crazy.
Yep. Yeah, still works.
Yeah, and so I'd imagine like they would talk a little bit about some of those just the horrendous things that have happened in the country over the years.
There's a lot. So, like the station nightclub fire, like that's a big one.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like I'll never forget back in 2003 when I was in the fire academy in Ohio, we were going to do a flashover training that day, and a fireman in Cincinnati died the night before, Oscar Armstrong. Like I'll never forget that. Like he died in a flashover, and the hose line didn't have water in it because they got it wrapped up in a bush out front. So like that was one thing they told us, is like, hey, this guy died last night,
Oh my
doing
God.
what we're going to show you today. So that's stuck with me for 20 years now.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, it's fresh, and it's like, hey, it's real. We're not playing a damn video game here. We're saving lives and trying to save lives, and not necessarily property, but typically it depends on the situation. It could be saving property and lives or animals and things like that.
It's all the above.
Yeah. I want to talk more about the truck stuff, but when you think of, you think of like the role that I'm in, we deal a little bit with contractors and things like that. And one thing that I know is super serious, no matter what jurisdiction, no matter what state or county or whatever, is the fire code. And you think about where they don't cut corners on that stuff. They're looking to get a CO for a building, or they're looking to move in, whether it's a brand new grocery store or it's a remodel or whatever. If it's public stuff, man, that fire stuff is 100% serious.
It is. I mean, a lot of the stuff that there are laws or regulations, it's usually signed in blood because somebody has lost their life.
Yep.
And made that change.
Yep.
So, like a lot of the stuff that happens with the fire department is somebody has lost their life as a firefighter, and that changes the way we do things.
Yeah, it drives ordinances and stuff. And for anybody that would ever think that, hey, it's too much and stuff, I'll tell you this: I was at a Publix, which is a huge grocery store chain in the South, big in Florida, of course, and years ago, and the power just went out. No emergency lighting, maybe a couple little teeny lights came on, but like if you ever think like a nightclub where there's a fire or something and people are trampling over each other, think about this. In a Publix, the lights go out, you can't see anything. You can't see the person with the cart in front of you, and people are going like crazy, and it's like, okay, well, you can see the light at the front of the store, or the Sunshine State, but again, it's that serious. So I just wanted to hit upon that for a minute, that when we're talking about that kind of stuff, it goes back hundreds of years, and people, I think, they appreciate firemen and firewomen, but they maybe underestimate like the reasons why things have to be the way they are now to try to save, lives.
Yeah, I've been to a fire at a grocery store too, and like you said, it's dark in there, especially when you got smoke banked down to the floor. But one thing about grocery stores and Lowe's and most stores like that, the orientation of it is the aisles usually will lead you to the front of the store.
Mm-hmm.
They're usually, if you go back and forth from the aisle, it usually takes you to the front door.
Yep. So exactly. Yep. Now, as we transition a little bit, I want to ask you this. So I know like fire is huge, and I want to transition this one question before we move on. But when you think of movies, right? I don't know if you're as big into movies as I am. Is there any one movie that you can recall, or a scene that you feel like maybe really, really depicted, like you're like, dude, like, wow, that's fucking it? Or maybe not, but I just wanted to ask you.
Man.
Because I think of the movie Backdraft was one of the big movies that was like with fire stuff, and I always wondered if that was like pretty accurate. But
I mean, it's I would say it's somewhat accurate, but for the most part, anytime that you're in a fire, it's 99.9% blacked out. The smoke, you're not going to see anything until you like actually get close to the seat of the fire, and then it's like free burning. Other than that, you don't see anything.
Yeah,
you got to rely on your other senses, like touch for the most part. Like you're feeling your way around. You're not seeing anything.
I hear you, man. Have you in your family, have you guys been pretty blessed, knock on wood, over the years? I mean, has there been anybody close to you or anybody in your family that has lost their life in like the direct fighting of a fire that you want to, just pay homage
to?
Okay.
No, I haven't had any family members killed in the line of duty. Like, been pretty fortunate, some injured here and there.
Sure.
But, in the 13 years I've been in DC, we've now had 3 firemen killed in the line of duty since I've been here.
Wow. Yeah, it's serious, dude.
Yeah, it's weird. You might go home the next day and one of the other guys who was eating dinner with you the night before isn't there.
Yeah, it's tough. So I tell people, man, pay respects if you can. Donate a little bit to your local, if there's drives and things like that. Donate if you can. Show the love and support for. Is it proper to say firemen and firewomen? Am I saying it right? I know some people might laugh at that, but
I think at this point in this time and age, I think the proper term is firefighter.
Firefighter. There you go. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I've just my generation, fireman, I feel like it's still firemen.
Exactly. Like Mike doesn't like when I say like male women. He gets really mad and angry. I go, Mike, come on, man. I mean, women are out there delivering, aren't they? He gets real pissed, but
old Mr. McFeely there.
Dude, that was listen, I watched Mr. Rogers, rest in peace, growing up. Even at a young age, I was weirded out by Mr. McFeely. I don't know if it was his name or what it was, dude. But I think he was a nice guy. I think he was just maybe typecasted, that's all.
Do you think that's what got Mike into the Postal Service, was Mr. McFeely? Dude, Mr. Rogers and all that? Do you think?
Dude, I think we could do a whole season of a podcast going down that bunny trail, because, I think
it's a good one to get into.
No doubt. I want to, again, thank Hammered Weekend Wear, again, HAMMER, what, Kyle?
D,
hammeredweekendwear.com. If you go to the pre-orders on their website, they have the Pizza Boy t-shirt, which is the Isuzu, and then, of course, they got Time Warp shirts, hoodies, and whatnot. The Time Warp's cool because it was Duke Furr's creation, and it was a Honda Accord, I believe it is. Honda Accord. So, pretty cool. Check them out, Hammered Weekend Wear. But I want to talk about kind of transitioning a little bit back to the general updates, dude. So you and we had the unique opportunity to be at Lone Star Throwdown, right? And what I wanted to do was kind of get a little bit of your thoughts, like how was your trip going there and stuff? Because, talk about what you drove and how long it took.
So this year took a little different ride than last year. Last year we had the crew cab, my C20. This year we took my square body Suburban. So it's a 24-hour ride from Maryland to Conroe, Texas. The first day I stopped and picked up my buddy Matt Cooper in South Carolina, and then we hammered down to Leeds, Alabama, stayed across the street from the old famous Buc-ee's, and that was on Wednesday evening. So then Thursday morning we got up and we met the crew from United by Trucks, Ravi and Rick and all those guys, and we just hammered down the rest of the way from Leeds, Alabama to Conroe. So then we got in on Thursday night, but I was dragging a little bit of stuff that was smuggling across lines.
Yeah,
all the way from Virginia.
Yeah, Joey, Conroe. Right?
Yeah, Joey from Get Decked. He hit me up a couple weeks ago and said Radar and Lonnie had 200 skate decks on order and needed them smuggled across state lines.
Yeah,
and I'll tell you what. 200 skate decks takes up a lot more room and weight than I anticipated.
Yeah, it's crazy. And, we tell people all the time that, you've seen it firsthand, obviously helping is, the skate decks are cool because they tie into a lot of what we love, especially growing up and maybe what we still love. But it was cool that you were able to kind of do that. And I know the LST crew, they always appreciate it. They kind of, I'm sure they took care of you, but that was cool that you were able to help those guys out because that is a lot of decks.
Yeah, it is a lot of decks, let me tell you. And all weekend, I saw people constantly walking around with skate decks. I think it might sell as good as T-shirts. I don't know.
I agree. There's a good market for them.
Definitely. Yeah, there's definitely a market. And Joey does some fabulous artwork on that stuff, and I hope to work with him and get some stuff going here for the C10 Club Maryland and get some skate decks and merch going with him too.
Yeah, I want to hit upon the C10 Club Maryland stuff as well. A couple things I wanted to reinforce there was Joey, of course, always doing the decks. He also had made some for Hammered Weekend Wear, which was cool because you ended up trafficking those. They got delivered, and then you helped, us. You basically had to you had to broker a deal, I heard, and say, hey, I gave you guys some extra decks. And they go, yo, they kind of did a Debo. They go, there are decks now, and you're like, well, if we could just kind of maybe, and they're like, okay, cool. You're cool. You're a firefighter. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There was actually some hammered decks, and after we unloaded all the 200 LST decks, that's when the hammered weekend wear guys were like, hey, where's our decks? And guess what? They were on the very bottom of the 200 LST decks, so they all had to get moved again to get the hammered decks out of there.
And Hank wasn't willing, even for the little bit of money they're paying him, he wasn't even willing to walk over there and get them,
Hank was no help that weekend, I'll tell you that.
Pissed off. He was pissed and tired, he said. But I gotta give it up to the C10 guys. Love Mississippi Mud, right? United by Trucks. And even though, I think many truckers over the course of time, I mean, we've had our runs with, Cali to Showfest and all these different shows and stuff. Don't get me wrong, many truckers drive, but there's something about, like, when you last year with the C20, so we're going back to LST, as you mentioned, 2022, the C20 Rep and Topper gang, like, we don't have to get into the dollar amount, but there's a lot of money in fuel that's spent. Like, even when Ronnie was coming, eastbound and down and things like that, it's crazy to me, like, how willing a C10 guy or lady is willing to jump in and put the pedal down and just cruise across the country and enjoy the journey.
Yeah, the C20, it's actually a big block. It's a 454 and turbo 400, so there's no overdrive. And we averaged 8 miles to the gallon round trip last year, and that's 3,200. That's 3,200 miles. So there was 400 gallons of gasoline that we burned through round trip. That puts it insane. Puts into perspective. Like 400 gallons is quite a bit.
Yeah. Well, okay, so check this out. So McGinney Mike the Mayor and I, I got to give it up to him. I gave him basically 5 tick marks. He tried to broker some more and kind of deal, but I said, look, you get 5 tick marks because he drove there. We did a last-minute swerve. I was supposed to take my rig in my car, and I don't know, dude, I had a lot of stuff, like, trying to knock off this checklist and everything, and I just mentally, I was just tuned out, and Mike goes, yo, listen, I'll drive the 2021 Chevy. I'll drive us all the way there, all the way back. Scott rode with us, Scotty the Body, and he did drive a couple hours on the way there. And, like, we got stuck in this crazy 6-hour delay in Florida. It's weird. 2 years in a row on I-75 North, we hit some weird traffic. So we got past that. No need to harp on that. But, when we got there, we had been, I'm sure, like you, watching the weather for weeks, right? Just like Lonnie and Radar and Jared. And we knew the weather was going to be good. So, by the time we got there on Thursday, Thursday was already popping. It was like, okay, everybody's starting to set up and that type of thing. So our trip there was pretty uneventful other than the crazy traffic. And you guys already saw all that stuff on Facebook. But once you got to the show, kind of just maybe summarize some of the stuff that you enjoyed seeing, or just the things that you enjoyed doing walking around there with Matt Cooper.
Yeah, so probably hands down, my favorite part of LST is cruising around the grounds.
Sure.
Like, there's not many other shows that you get to do that.
Yep.
And, the cruising, and then the food, the food there is phenomenal. Like, for 3 days in a row this year and last year, we ate at the Pink Tacos at the Houston's Pink Box.
Yes.
John has an awesome food truck, and we ate 2, sometimes 3 meals a day, three meals a day out of Houston's Pink Box. So the food, the cruising, and you're not going to find a better mix of vehicles from cars to trucks to semis at any other show. Matter of fact, we met a guy there. Tom Beckley drove his I believe it's a 56 Diamond Rio semi with the fuel tanker from Maryland also. Did you see that?
Yes, I saw that, but I didn't see that. I didn't know that he drove it all that way.
He drove it, and
Good God.
so actually on Sunday I went over and found him and met up with him, and exchanged our phone numbers and information in case he had any problems on the road. And I actually got to cruise that thing around the grounds with him. He didn't know you could cruise. He sat there Friday and Saturday not knowing he could cruise that thing, and it's bagged front, rear, the trailer. It's all bagged. So
Wow.
like that was a sick ride. Like that was probably the highlight of my LST 23 was cruising the grounds in his Diamond Rio fuel tanker.
Man, that's that's pretty
the looks
sweet.
people were like, I've never seen so many cameras out recording. Like that thing was sweet.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet. What I thought was awesome is I was so overwhelmed. I'm kind of like, I peeled away for a minute on Thursday, kind of waiting during the setup, maybe about an hour, and I got some footage. Eddie Gordy, Tom with Far From Losing, and Joey Whitby with Relax Taco, and some of the trucks that were inside there. Friday was pretty much the day that I was very fortunate because it wasn't as packed. Well, okay, it was busy, but we knew Saturday was going to be like hellacious, right, with people. So Friday I was able to get a lot of photos, and I'm thankful that I did because, dude, like my brain was so overwhelmed with the amount of people and the amount of trucks. Like Saturday, I didn't do as much video as I normally would because I got so much on Friday that I was thankful. The thing that stood out to me, though, is you think about, you had that crazy Dodge Power Wagon, right, with the tilt cab, which was different.
Yep.
You had that cruising
Yeah,
around.
that's sick.
Yeah, you had the truck you just talked about. You had the 18-wheelers that were all customized. You saw that thing? That thing was nuts, dude.
Yeah.
With the
Now,
painted frame and all that.
So I think the crowd was bigger than ever this year.
It had
but
to be.
I think there was less trucks. Now, I've got a theory, and we'll see if you agree. So this year was the first year of no transfers, right?
Right.
So, like Matt Cooper had he had a registration, but he decided, hey, let's just both ride in one truck instead of taking two. It cuts the fuel.
And that's what we did too. Yep.
So there's one registration that didn't go that you could have transferred to somebody else. So then there's like two people that aren't there. So I think that this year there was less trucks because of people not able to transfer, but I think there was just as many spectators, if not more.
Yes, and I think the dynamic that my buddy and I talked about was like, so under the covered area, right, where you and I first linked up over by the Lincoln, that covered area was a little bit more sparse, right? Typically it's like...
Yeah, usually that's the C10 Club pavilion right there.
Right,
that's
so...
all C10 clubs, and then the other side is Relaxed Atmosphere,
right, yep.
I think. Yep.
So a couple of things, my theory is this, that... Number one, you got Lonnie and Radar. They're going to do classic truck throwdown, right? The weekend, basically
Yes.
4th of July weekend, technically. It's going to be right the weekend before that, like June 30th, July 1st, and July 2nd. Then I think the 3rd, some people will work, and then I think like the 4th is Tuesday, something like that, right? So you have that in the mix. Then it's perfect to have you on, Kyle, because from a C10 guys like Ronnie and all of you guys can attest, there's tons of stuff, whether it's cruising across the country, there's all these different events. But I think this too, if you looked back to like where Committed is, and you got Aftermath, and you got Severed, and then you got that back area behind that big building, that back area was kind of filled in. So I kind of wonder if you just have some people that go every year, they have badass shit, they kind of get an award, and they kind of go, hey, I'm going to take this year off. Maybe we're going to go to Classic Truck Throwdown. I do get what you're saying, but it almost seemed like it spilled over to other areas because I saw like a lot of mini trucks behind that building, and I just was like, damn, like that whole grass area is filling in. So I'd be curious to know how many were on site, if they did bust that 2,000. Now, where it gets tough to count is because, as you know, the vendors can register their stuff. So, and then also, oh, by the way, remember where we met over by that Lincoln, that area that extends out there towards the fence that bends around to the front of it. All of that,
Yes.
I was like, I was like, I can't even see all this stuff. Like, it was just crazy, man.
That's why you got to cruise. You got to cruise to see most of that stuff.
Yeah.
And I usually bring my scooter. I have a Segway scooter. Like that's the best way to get around like these shows.
Yes,
But,
it is, and I didn't get a chance to bring ours that we had. But I want to give a shout out to Brandon and Caitlin. Their last name is Croghan. They helped us out a couple years in a row. We normally get there kind of early. We don't get a chance to eat breakfast. They brought us the Buc-ee's breakfast burritos, and those things were fire, dude. And I got to always thank them for looking out for us. But to your point, it's like once you maybe get some breakfast in you, there's plenty there to eat for breakfast. We ate those because we couldn't really peel away from the booth, and then there's so much food. There's so much to do there. What blew my mind too is the spectator count. I would imagine with the better weather, it was a recipe for everybody wants to get out, and they're tired of the cold. And dude, it was the weekend. It was like the kickoff, man, for the year.
It was like that. This was the first show of the year for me, and I love going somewhere where it's 75 and 80 degrees in February.
Yeah,
I didn't make it down to the eastbound chill down this year, but this was the first one for me. And matter of fact, I'm leaving next week. I'm going to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina for the Run to the Sun car show. I think it's the 16th, 17th, 18th. I believe that's where it is. And then the C10 Club South Carolina is putting on Meet and Eat on Saturday the 18th, 6 p.m. at the Tavern in Surfside. So if there's anybody going to the Run to the Sun and has a C10 or any other cool truck, mini truck, you name it, bring it out to the Tavern in Surfside at 6 o'clock on that Saturday.
Hells yeah. What I would tell everyone is I can't remember every story and every conversation, but I mean, so many people came by the booth. We talked about trucks. It was a lot of fun. If you follow Lone Star Throwdown on Facebook or Instagram, they do a great job, and other show promoters take heed on this. They're going back and they're making their 1-2 posts a day, showing the Promoter's Choice Award, who won the best debut. Shout out to Aftermath there. The Kids' Choice. These amazing awards that are created by Phil Built, right? And the awesome thing is that whether it was the Alamo Custom C10 that won Best of Show for Ricky Holly, shout out to him. I got a chance to talk to him and his brother. Good people. There's something there for everyone. Mini trucks, Radar said bring more minis. To me, the minis showed up. Now, there's not going to be as many as maybe a classic truck or a C10. There were a lot of them there. There were 3 Lincolns. There were new body style. All these different clubs came really, really hard in the paint. And it's a testament to their hustle and their determination, and these guys fighting and putting on a damn good show. This is the 11th annual, and all I know is I'll be back, next year for the event. I know that you will, I'm sure, Kyle.
Yeah, I mean that's the furthest trip so far, out of anything I do, and that was the 3rd year in a row. So that's almost 10,000 miles of LST in the last 3 years.
Yep.
So
yeah, and I'll wrap it up at least in my mind and say, I appreciate DJ Mays, Justin Santos, Diggity Dominique. These guys, they helped us a lot at the booth. Mob Steel Emma and Solomon, they stopped by, which was super cool. Bryce Schulman, Brandon and his girl, like I said, some of my severed family, I got to talk with, Zarati and just different kinfolk, and, it was cool, especially Neil. Neil came by, and we chopped it up. And to me, Ronnie has a great saying that sums this up, but, like, the conversations that I have with people, they mean a lot. I had some very emotional conversations. I talked to Mary Beth, who, her and I talked about Neil a little bit, and it was real emotional. I got to give a huge shout out to A&F Ranch, the big homie. They came by, and it was so awesome. A&F, so it's AF_ranch. Those guys come by. We chopped it up. It's just, like you said, the meeting the people and going to these shows, seeing Not Stock Photography, Frank and Brian from the West, Jiggity Jeff, Jiz F from Mini Garage, Nathan from Sick Cars and Trucks. Dude, conversations that, again, I'm looking forward to picking back up sooner rather than later. But, of course, some of them will have to wait till next year.
Yeah, I mean, that's the big thing. Like, you're talking about the Phil Built, designs, awards, and all that. Like the awards are cool, but like that's not what I go for. Like I go to hang out with the people, like and look at the cool stuff. Like the words are definitely cool, but spending time with the people is what it's really about, at least for me. And I think it's the same way with you.
Yeah, it is. And there's a guy, and I want to make sure, I think it was Matt Stone, he came up, and we had a really good conversation about, he had bought some merch from us in the past, and he said, I had this banner hanging up, and I'm sitting in my garage one day, and he looks up, and he goes, I'm going to check out this Our Lifestyle podcast. And, he said, like, it really helped him through some times, right, and listening and stuff. And, you do a lot of stuff for the truck community, and, you guys got the C10 Club Maryland popping and things like that. But it's always refreshing when you hear someone go, hey, man, like, I'm having a tough time, but, like, maybe you did something, or you threw an event, or you had an episode, or whatever, you do, or any of the kinfolk out in the truck scene. So it's always good to hear that positive feedback from people. Hell, I'd rather hear that than the complaint department. You know what I mean? Because the complaint department, those all go to Mike.
Yeah, and we know how he is about returning calls and answering the phones. So.
Right. He's chucking them to voicemail. But yeah, I mean, I know I'm forgetting stuff. I know I'm forgetting something, like an epic story or something. But I think, like, we've talked enough about LST, like, that I think we kind of summed it up. I mean, what else you got, man, for Kyle so far for LST?
Man, I think we summed it up pretty good. Like,
yeah,
a lot of people there, and like you and I got to hang out a little bit, but your booth was super packed. The C10 Club Pavilion was packed. Everybody was stopping by talking to the UBT guys. Robbie was signing autographs, all that. Like, it was a good time. So I think we can move on to something else if you want to.
Oh, hell yeah. The last shout out I want to give, I know Chris Rollins, he had came by. We talked to a lot of good people at the show, but I want to say this. If you didn't get a chance to see the Auto Extremes built truck, and I know that Chris Rollins did the interior, you're definitely missing out. It was probably one of my favorite builds there. And you basically have NC member, I believe, CJ. He comes out with the two-door Blazer, insane interior, tip of the cap, Chris Rollins from Exotic Auto Trends. You also have Robert Robinson, I think, is Auto Extremes. These guys came out hard, and again, repping the minis. I tip the cap to them. These guys are really flipping the game with some of the stuff that they're doing. So, congrats. And again, as we kind of summed up there, I can't think of everything right now. I am working on a video a little bit different for LST that's going to go on our YouTube channel. And by the way, check us out on YouTube, continuing to see great trends there with subscriber growth and minutes watched. So thank you guys and ladies that have helped us there. The General Updates is brought to you by none other than Lone Star Throwdown. And Kyle, next year in February, third weekend, any idea where you're going to be, man?
Man, I'm probably gonna be heading to Conroe, Texas.
Conroe, Texas.
I haven't missed one of the last three. I can't miss it next year.
It.
I did sleep on it though on the registration this year. I got into it like 12 hours or not even 12 hours into it, and usually I try to get in the first 200. I think is what it is. So you get a little goodie pack, Like last year, you got the Phil built keychain and all that. I guess I didn't have my alarm set and slept on it. And, I did make the cutoff 56 hours this year, and it's sold out, I think is what I heard.
Yeah, so, are you kind of an Alexa, Google Assistant, Siri kind of guy, or are you like an old school, like Rolodex, pen and paper deal?
Usually I just have a thing in my calendar, my iPhone, to alert me to do something.
Boom. Reminders.
I do have an Alexa in the house, and, turns my lights on and off and does all that stuff. But maybe I'll have to set my Alexa to remind me for. Yeah,
so
usually August, right? August 1st, is that what it is?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. So 8/1, and I think it's at noon local time. So remember, they're CT Central Time, 1 hour behind us, Florida idiots, as Fester from RA would say, and crew down there. But so set it. I think, dude, if it was 56 this year, or, technically last August, it may blow through quicker than that. You know what I mean? So, but I would encourage people, some people, listen, they were a little concerned that the price had went up. Listen, $20 is nothing. I would gladly, if they said it's $80 for two armbands, sign me up, dude. It's worth it. That's the only promo I need to cut right there. LoneStarThrowdown.com, right?
Yeah, the weekend's worth it.
The weekend's worth it. I like it.
All 3 days.
Yep, for sure. So with Mickety Mike the Mayor out, I got one question for you, Kyle. Are you ready?
Now it's time to get serious.
Oh man, let's get to it.
So with Mike out gallivanting, working on his debut album, The Gallivanting, man, I got to ask you this question. Some of the listeners will appreciate it. I know Frank from Aftermath will. He's over there slanging some old toys and doing his thing. We got to get him on. I keep saying that. But I grew up in the 80s. You're kind of a couple years younger than I am. But in the mid-80s, there were 2 action figures that were produced by G.I. Joe. And they were kind of celebrities at the time. Okay, so we're talking mid-80s. And I don't know how much more I want to give away. I'm only going to give you this. There was a wrestler. And there was one other, I don't want to give away the other sport, there was one other big sport that these 2 guys, were affiliated with, right? So one was a wrestler, one was another sport guy. But they did a mail-away offer. Now, you're probably maybe a little younger than me. Maybe you're more like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle guy. I didn't get into that stuff as much, a little bit. But do you have any idea, Kyle? G.I. Joe, mid-80s, 2 action figures they produced, and they were technically mail-aways.
Man, it's not the Cobra Commander, right? Not the Cobra Commander.
Well, wait, I thought Mike just dialed in. Mike, was that you saying Cobra Commander?
No. So, let's see. We have the Refrigerator Perry.
Oh, yeah, I still got mine. You remember.
And then the other wrestler, Sergeant something. Sergeant Slaughter.
Yeah,
I think that's what it is.
He's big on Twitter now. I think he's like getting up there. He's got to be. I think he's like in his mid-70s. Yeah, he's got
like 80.
Yeah, he's got to be. And it's funny because I think of Refrigerator Perry, when I sold most of my old G.I. Joes, they were all kind of loose figures and stuff. The fridge was one that I kept because I had the card, and he had the little he had a football, and it's a little black football, but it was on the end of a chain. That was his weapon, dude. And yeah, but that was an epic time, and you got to probably remember some of the stuff. I mean, because like I'm thinking around mid '80s, late '80s, dude. Remember Micro Machines, dude, from Home Alone? The guy slips on them.
That was one of my big toys. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, what I grew up with. Oddly enough, still have all of them, and my soon-to-be 7-year-old son Ryder still plays with all my Micro Machines, Ninja Turtles. He's got some of my G.I. Joes too.
Really? Dude, I might have to borrow some. When you're a kid, you want to borrow. Tony and I are still borrowing from everyone,
Yeah.
Frank Ice, though. Frank, Iceman, he is, and I want to give him a shout out too. Recently, he announced that he went debt-free because he has started his company where he's been kind of flipping, buying and selling toys and stuff. And I love to see the stuff that he always comes up with. But yeah, he's you better be careful because he might start messaging you going, "Yo, man, what turtles you got, man?" But that's cool that your son's into it, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I mean, I might trade some of my turtles for a USS Flag.
Yeah, there you go, dude. Look at that, man. I know, and that's, dude. You just hit a sore subject. When I sold my loose skies, this is back in 2009. I started I was thinking how much money I had to finish my S10, and I was like, I'm gonna just start moving some stuff. And I wish I wouldn't have sold them. I sold 50 figures, but one because I had the USS Flag as a kid. That was one thing my parents bought, and I had it, and I had the Admiral for the USS Flag, and I should have kept that guy. He's kind of hard to find these days, man. That's the one other guy I want to get, dude. So
what's his nickname? The code name? Keel Hall.
Yeah, Keel, Keelhaul. I think it was Keel Hall.
Yep.
And I think there was one. Damn, you're on it. There was one, and I don't know if I had it because I learned this after I sold them. I think there was a variant, and it was something to do with what one arm had the different patch or something. But one of them is worth a lot of money. So whoever bought that lot from me for $77. They may have really hit a gold mine, and I still kick myself. I mean, dude, that was almost 15 years ago, and I'm still pissed off about it. I'm trying to learn to let things go, Kyle.
Sometimes it's better to let them go. Other
Right.
times you just hang on to it. Like, I've still got my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from 35 years ago. So,
Yeah. Yeah. We love this, some of our stuff. The Trivia with Kyle was brought to you by The Sparks Show. Do not miss out on one of the biggest, baddest shows in the country. It's a 10th annual event, so it's the 10th anniversary, The Sparks Show, the 11th, 12th, and 13th. That's in Sevierville, Tennessee. TheSparksShow.com, and it's The Sparks Show on Instagram. You'll find them. You can pre-register now and buy merchandise. Good people. So let me ask you this, right? Going back a little bit, right? Because we're kind of interweaving in this story of Kyle Fannin as well as getting through this episode, right? Giving the people the content. They always tell me, hey, we need more content. Let me ask you this. We really didn't get down to it, though. How did you get involved with trucks, right? You come up as a firefighter. What was the bug that bit you?
So back in the, I guess, late 90s, early 2000s, when I was starting to drive, I got into car audio. The systems, as we called it back then, subwoofers and amps, that was big back then. I don't think it's as big now. Like, do you hear like cars driving by and shaking your windows of your house at all the night, like 20 and 30 years ago?
Pump it up. Yeah, I do, because my buddy Paul is a true bass head. One of the crazy, he knows a lot about the science and crazy. And we talk about this all the time, and it's weird. You don't see it and hear it as much, but it's still all around us, and it's weird. Like, I think this is the difference. The younger kids, a lot of them don't want to drive, and it's just not their thing. I don't think they're doing what we did. They're not taking their Prius and putting like a wall in the back. I don't know. It is different, though. I agree with you.
So I had a wall in my 98 S10 Blazer. I had 612s in the back of that thing. That was actually the first thing I customized. My first vehicle was a 96 Jeep YJ Wrangler. Had 415s in that thing and a soft top.
Wow.
And my dad said he could hear me leave the high school every day, like 3 miles away when I started that thing up.
Pump it up. Hell yeah.
415s didn't see no wires. And then I heard boom from the amplifiers.
Yeah, there you go, dude.
Right?
I love it. Hell yeah.
Yeah, so that's what got me into it was the car audio. And actually in high school, another buddy and I, we started a business, and we installed car stereos after school. We went and got a business license, got a couple different wholesalers, and we were slinging the merch back then at 16 and 17 years old. And that's what really got me into it. Yeah. So I started doing that, got the Blazer. I drove the Blazer for, I guess, 2 years, maybe 3 years, and I sold it. And that's when I picked up the MBS in 2003. It was a 2000 model. It was a special order. It was a 4.8 V8 with a 5-speed power windows, had all the options, regular cab short bed, and it was actually a repo. I got it as a repo, and it had been bagged, and they took the wheels off of it and they drug it up on the repo truck or whatever back then. And so that's what I started with. It was, it wasn't a stock truck, but it was kind of a fresh slate to start with, since they took all the stuff off when it was repoed. Had 29,000 miles on it, and that's when I decided to cut it apart, and we bagged it, shaved everything on it, custom paint,
silver, and what's the top color?
It's the factory, the blue's factory, and then it has it's a Chrysler silver, and it's House of Collar green is what the flames are. But that's not the first paint job. That truck actually had another paint job prior to that for about a month. It was Lamborghini orange with the House of Collar green flames and the blue top. And I was coming home one night and hit a deer within the first month after having the custom paint.
Damn. And you just decided to go a different route.
Yeah, so we went a different route with it. And that's when we did the bare metal in the hood too. The flames in the hood are bare metal. I think you and I talked about that last year at the show.
Yep.
And so from 2003, 2005, that was what my show vehicle was. took it to Carlisle. With Myrtle Beach, there was a couple Whitley shows I took it to.
Yes, Whitley.
Do you remember the Whitley shows?
Yep.
I found some of the Whitley stuff a couple weeks ago. I think I have like a shirt that says like Whitley on it that I won at one of the shows. And what was the other shows? Drop Jaw. I think I took it to some Drop Jaw shows.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Drop Jaw Mag.
So yep. And then what was the other? Gauge Magazine. I think they did some shows I took it to. Then you had Nopi, like that was in Myrtle Beach. So like it's funny to think about like all the shows that have come and gone. You know, like Indy Truck Bash, that one's not around anymore. We talk about Cruise Fest, like there's probably a good reason that one's not around anymore.
Yeah, time does fly.
But I remember, you know, sitting in study hall in high school, you know, 25 years ago at this point, reading Truckin magazine and all that stuff, you know, looking at the custom trucks and going, man, I want to build that. And here I am now, like 20 years later, have the opportunity to build that kind of stuff and take it to those shows. And back then, like everything was like West Coast, you know, like all the show coverage was shows out West. And I think, you know, in the last 5-10 years, the shows have transitioned more east. Like there's a lot more stuff going on in the east than I feel like in the West Coast at this point.
Yeah, a lot of West Coast people,
cars and trucks.
I think they would agree with that as well because, you know, they've said, you know, with the reduction of the river runs and things like that. Now, granted, they're starting to come back, some of our kinfolk a little bit. But, yeah, I mean, the East Coast, I mean, with so many shows that we have, we're very fortunate.
Yeah, like most of the shows that I go to, you know, it's hammered down. It's 6, 7, 8, 12, 24 hours to get there. But, you know, you gotta put the pedal down.
Yeah, talk to us a little bit about, for those that don't know, because the C10, a lot of C10 guys, some of them are old mini truckers, some of them are just truck enthusiasts, and going back to the GM forums, as you said, fullsizechevy.com and things like that. But something that's interesting to me is, much like in our truck scene, Negative Camber was like the unclub, right? So they didn't really have many rules, is my understanding. That was like the unclub, and I think it was just the NC until they had to have like a logo and they put the oval. With the C10 Club, talk to us about the dynamic there, because I know there's a lot of chapters. Is it the same umbrella? How does that work? Yeah, so I wouldn't say every state has one, but the majority of the states have a chapter. So the C10 Club started in 1999 by John Oro. You know, he's the El Presidente still, and that's what we like. You know, there's no rules, no dues. You know, that's the slogan. And it's just a bunch of guys hanging out and gals with their C10s. It's great too because, you know, as we're traveling, you know, if something happens, I can call like one of the other guys from a different state and be like, hey, you know, this is where we're at, and they usually have somebody there within like 30 minutes to help us. Like amazing.
Every time, like when we're coming through like Charlotte, we break something and we call a couple of different guys from the North Carolina chapter, and there's either a truck and a trailer coming or a shop to work at. Like.
Wow.
It's great. It's good people, man. Like the C10 Club, just like any other club, you know, it's about the people. And like, I'm pretty fortunate that I got to take over the club a couple of years ago and, you know, trying to do some good things here. Got some new merch coming out. Really wanting to push that. I'm really wanting to get the YouTube channel going and getting some builds and show coverage, because oddly enough, there's a lot of cool stuff being built in Maryland that that people don't know about. Like it's not getting out there. So, you know, I would like to grow our YouTube channel, but as you know, video is hard, man.
Yeah, it is.
You got to go shoot the video. You got to spend hours editing it. But you know, that's what I really want to do this year, is focus on getting the C10 Club merch going and getting our YouTube channel going.
Yeah, it's very cool. If people want to find, you have the channel already, can they go out on YouTube and subscribe?
Yeah, you can go out and subscribe. I haven't posted a video in probably over a year. I was doing it, I was trying it, and got my feet wet, and then life took over, and you know, and then other trucks took over. But like that's my goal, is focus on documenting everything that's happening in the C10 community in Maryland and the shows we go to. and we got some new shirts coming out and hats and all that too. So it's at C10 Club on the YouTube machine. Excuse me. Also on Instagram, you can follow us on there at C10 Club Maryland.
Yep, and you can see there's some cool stuff like C10 Club Maryland at Southeastern Truck Nationals, like 2,100 views. I mean, you've got some good amount of views as well. So I think if you just keep that steam engine going, that it's going to eventually collide with where you want to be, and that's great. And there's like you said, a lot of history in that region. I know there's a lot of good mini truckers. We've had Eric Folber on and other guys that are from that area or close to it. And they're good people, but yeah, I mean, absolutely, I think that's awesome. And I was kind of curious on what kind of got you in the trucks. Now, one thing that I'm always been curious about is like when we drive past the firehouses down here. There's a couple of cool ones not too far from us, and a lot of times, I think what I've seen is like there can be some downtime. There's a lot of training and stuff, but one thing that's always been intriguing to me is the whole regimen of keeping like the engines right so clean, and I say the engine, the fire trucks, right?
Yeah,
that stuff
right.
That's good practice for you polishing stuff right on your show truck.
yeah. So when I was assigned to an engine company, I would get to work at like 4:35 in the morning, and that would be the first thing you would do. You'd make your coffee, and then you'd start washing the fire truck before the sun even came up. Like every day, every shift, the fire truck gets washed. The wheels get polished, everything on it. It's like if you're ever wanting to buy like a truck and it came from the fire department, the odds are it's in really good condition, like paint wise and wash and undercarriage and all that, because for the most part, I think every fire department is the same way. Is that's your pride. You take care of what you're riding around in for those 24 hours.
Yeah, the taxpayer money pays for a lot of that stuff, and you guys keep it arguably the cleanest and nicest out of any kind of group that I've seen, in terms of that kind of work, But again, it goes back to like, some of my friends were giving me a hard time. They go, "Yo, Jay, you need to polish the wheels." And I go, "Yo, I got patina billets now." But they were like, they kept telling me I should become a firefighter, and I didn't understand it. And then now I'm kind of getting it. Like they were like, "Yo, you need to practice." You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get you. But I'm starting to slide into the patina game here.
Yeah.
Actually, I guess 3 of the trucks I got right now are patina.
Right.
So the 86 you saw last year, that one is just about finished. I was working on that one today. I'm working with Detroit Steel on that one. We got the 20 by 9s up front, 20 by 11s in the back, the Del Rey's and the 8 lug.
Mm-hmm.
I got Porterville control arms for it that are narrowed 1 inch, and that's what I was working on today. I got those powder coated antique white to match the Detroit Steel wheels.
Damn.
So I was working on getting all that stuff assembled. So oddly enough, that was the last trip that truck made was LST last year. And then I came home and blew it all apart, and it's still not back together.
Dude, always hustling, man. Like, you're going to have unlimited content. Like, if you really can get your mind where you want it to be as far as recording and then kind of editing. And I can give you some feedback on some of that stuff. I mean, I'm not an expert, but I try to do things as minimalistic as possible. But, yeah, it's a mental thing, too, just to go like, okay, now I got to record all this and all that. But I'm still not where I want to be. But, I mean, going back to your point a moment ago, like, you got plenty of content that you could easily put together.
Yeah, so I got the Suburban. It's done. The last thing I've done was put the stripe kit on it, and it really changed the look of the Suburban tremendously with the low steer graphics kit on there. So like that's kind of like the fallback now is I'm going to a show, one of the other trucks isn't ready, hop in the Suburban and it's ready to go.
The burb is the word.
The Purb's the word. I put 32,000 miles on it in the last 3 years since I built it. So it's a true road dog, and uneventful trip to LST, not one issue, didn't have to stop, didn't have to change anything, didn't have to put a belt on it, alternator. Like it's dialed in. Like the LS swap and the Holly Terminator, got a 480 transmission in it. It's legit. So I'm very pleased with it.
And the Suburban, for those that didn't know, it was featured on a YouTube channel. Why don't you give a shout out there?
Yeah, my buddy Cade, he runs the Rusto Mod YouTube channel, and he did a feature for me on the Suburban a few months ago. If you want to check out his YouTube channel, it's at Rusto Mod.
Yeah,
Also,
RUSTOMOD, Rusto, RUSTOMOD.
Yep. Also, C10 Club Maryland is partnering up with the Rusto Mod, and we got a car show going on August 13th. We got a few months to plan for this, and it's called the Patina Party. So the focus is patina rides, but it doesn't have to be a patina ride. As long as you got something cool, bring it out. So it's cars, trucks, you name it. Got a couple different awards for the Patina Party. It's going to be at the Maryland International Raceway in Budds Creek. So if you're looking for something to do, you can come there. You can bring your ride. You can race it on the drag strip in the quarter mile. You can show it off. There's going to be the different vendors, food. We got we got sponsored. Sweet Patina is sponsoring it. Detroit Steel Wheels. So we got some good people behind it. Bring out your patina ride. Maybe road trip that Lincoln up here.
I know, dude. If I can get Mike, to drive me up there. But then I'm worried because I don't want him to pull the trailer, because he could doze off,
Yeah.
I mean, I want to sleep, but I just don't want him to doze off.
Rolando might have his Lincoln there too.
Oh, really?
Rolando has a lot of rides too. You met Rolando at Eastbound Get Down, and he had the watermelon C10 this year at LST.
Mm-hmm.
I think you saw it when you were shooting that Lincoln, the twin turbo.
Oh yeah,
Rolando's is right over there. So yeah,
very
good
cool.
plug here for the Patina Party. You can follow it at Patina Party on Instagram and also at Rustomod.
Yep. And as long as they're giving out like the free face tattoos, like we talked about, like Mike, I think is going to drive me up there. Because he's ready to get one. He's head.
If not, we'll hold him down and make sure he gets it.
Right.
We'll get that Hank arm and hold him down with the Hank arm.
Yeah, we're just trying to help Mike because we know at his listening party for his album that he's people are gonna want to see the real Mike Murray stand up.
That's right. That's right. Wait until he's slinging that burnt CD next year, EBGD.
Right. Okay, well, thanks for sharing a little bit more information about yourself. I do want to do Hut 1, Hut 2, Hut 3, Hut, Old Dirty Ballard live and
uncut.
There you go. And, dude, you could probably attest to this, that this one is, I think, important for a lot of our listeners, including you, me, and everybody out there. But this is definitely for you guys out there. We don't usually like to talk about this stuff, but I'm saying this because it needs to happen. Go get your wellness checks. Go get checked out. Do your doctor visit type stuff. And I mean that because my buddy's been on me. I've been wanting to get a sleep study done. Many of us have Apple Watches, smart watches, different devices that track our sleep and things like that. And I know for me, like, even though I get up and I got energy, like, my watch says I'm not getting a lot of deep sleep. So, like, I would just encourage people, like, there's a lot of technology out there. There's no reason that we can't go to the doctor, get checked out, do our shit. I'm 44, and we're losing too many good people, and not everything can be avoided. But I think, Kyle, especially in your type of work that you're in and stuff, I'm sure they really promote a lot of that stuff. But I tell people, man, just stay in the best health you can because you got one life to live. And I know it sounds cliche, but that's ODB Live and Uncut this week. What do you think?
Hey, I agree. Every day off, I go to the gym and I work out and make sure I get my cardio in because I'll tell you what, you don't want to be walking up and down to the 10th or 12th floor carrying 200 pounds of stuff out of shape. I'll tell you, that's rough.
That's real talk, man.
That's my real focus is I want to make sure that I'm ready to go to work when I need to.
Hells yeah, ODB Live and Uncut this week, brought to you by Joey at Get Decked. We mentioned this earlier. It's GetDecked_VA on Instagram, or Joey Dilworth Get Decked on Facebook. You can look up his website. He's got merch for sale. But number one, if you've got artwork or a photo that you want to put on a skate deck, hit up Joey. He can make it happen, whether it's for your loved one, your significant other, or a show, or something that you want to put on. Even if you want to do some awards, maybe some specialty top 10 things, certainly hit up Joey at Get Decked. Listen, man, the scene updates, dude. This is one that was really big. I got to talk to him this week. I was going to try to get him on, but I don't know with a couple of family things I got going on this week if I'm going to be able to record with him. But did you happen to see the news, Kyle, of the change, the goodness, right? Because I think the other, Chris is moving on to bigger and better things like within the organization. But did you see the change there at Street Trucks?
I did. I see that Brandon Burrell is taking the reins there, right?
Yeah, he's taking the reins. Long time, mini trucker, truck enthusiast, kind of car guy, I think is the best way to sum it up. And as I told Brandon, briefly spoke with him on the phone, I gave him best wishes from the truck community. I mean, I've been rooting for this guy a long time, and he shot almost 40 covers up to this point. But if you look at how many builds he's had over the years and how many tech articles and just different things, whether it's SEMA builds, however you slice and dice it, the dude's a well-organized guy, and I couldn't be happier for him.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good asset for the Street Trucks.
Yep. And I know, you had some things hopefully in the works, and I know Brandon is really focused on kind of growing some of the business there. As you'd imagine, digital experience is huge these days, and I know a lot of us love the print stuff, but I would encourage people, listen, maybe, Street Trucks, you see a lot of C10s and you're a mini trucker and this type of thing. I will tell you this, they put a mini truck, they're continuing to support mini trucks, and that's the next big thing because they announced, I don't have my issue right in front of me, but I got the issue when I got back from LST. And the cover truck of the year was Mike Hill. So thanks, or shout out to Mike Hill. He's from Florida. Jimmy's Running Customs built his Explorer, and that was cool. And then, oh, by the way, the mini truck of the year was Chad Luke. So, Kyle, even you maybe not being so much like kind of considered as a mini trucker, you would definitely, I'm sure, concur that, hey, they're featuring mini trucks, and that's a good thing. So I tell people to go support and subscribe.
Yeah, I'm all about the mini trucks. It's just I don't fit well into it. I'm a little bigger for the mini truck, I feel like.
Yeah. But what I envision seeing is obviously their continued growth with the video side of things, and I do know that Brandon has a lot of inroads in this industry. So I'm anxious to see and kind of curious to see what he maybe taps into in terms of some of the potential articles and tech things that he can do and that he can produce with a great cast of team around him. So, I think the sky's the limit. And Brandon Burrell, I know you're a big listener. Thank you for always supporting us. Burrell Images, you can check them out. And again, much more coming. We're just happy to announce it because it was officially announced, and we wanted to share that.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about it because the 66 C10 building with QA1 Detroit Steel wheels, going to be doing some videos, I think, with Street Trucks. I was working with Chris a while back, so hopefully Brandon and I can work on this project also and get the coverage for the 66 patina C10 I'm building right now. That's one of the other ones that we haven't even got that far yet. We were back at the 86 C10, but yeah, that's the next project that I'm working on at the same time is the 66.
Yeah, and QA1 being a big supporter, advertiser of Street Trucks. I mean, it'd be great to continue to see their products. I mean, there's some high-end stuff, so it's cool that you're working back with them. And, of course, Detroit Steel, forging that relationship with Emma and team, of course, there under the umbrella of Mob Steel. So pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited to work. I never would imagine that I'd get to work with these awesome companies. When I started 20 years ago doing this, flipping through a magazine in high school, and I'm just very thankful that these people have standing behind me and helping out.
Yeah, and I'll say this: I talked to my buddy earlier. I call it the C word, right? And it's the C word is consistency. And you think about being involved in the scene for 20 years, building the NBS, dabbling in some other stuff, building some inroads, saw you at SEMA, big supporter of, Truck Talk Media. You've been a big supporter here. I mean, it's in your blood. You said it earlier, and that's the cool thing, right? It culminates into, 20 years ago, you weren't out there saying, hey, I need some sponsorships, You realize that you built those relationships over the course of time, and now you're in a position to go, hey, with the role that I have, I got some days off. I can put together some cool stuff. And like I said, hearing you talk about hustling on your stuff today and building this and focusing on that, again, you got a lot of good things coming, for you, man.
Yeah, I'm excited. Like 2023 is off to a good start, and I can't wait to see what it brings in.
Hells yeah.
The plan is have the 66 built and ready for SEMA 23. That's the end game. That's the goal. We'll see if I can pull it off.
Fantastic. Can't wait. We're rooting for you, man. I'll give a few shout-outs here for the scene updates. Joey Whitby, I know he recently put some HRBB billets on the Relax Taco, also known now as Hard Taco, thanks to Street Trucks. And Joey, that looks really good, so keep doing what you're doing. Again, I know Chris Rollins had shared CJ's Blazer, which I mentioned earlier. He had shared some photos and said, man, this thing turned out awesome. I totally agree, so tip of the cap to you guys. I did mention this earlier, but I think it was Shane Smith. He got the C10 debut. So it was the debut truck at Lone Star Throwdown. And I think Mike told me that Shane is an Aftermath. Trey 5, I believe, built that red C10 that was out there kind of front and center. And that was cool to see. And I know Tom Jenkins. I know his name keeps coming up on the podcast, but he built a really cool Toyota that basically was a unibody that is a topless. It's a roadster. So that was cool. That was out there. He pulled in a couple of awards, which I thought was awesome.
How about the van?
The green one.
The green van, yeah.
Yeah, so I didn't realize that was... I saw the video on YouTube. That was from John Jackson, Not Stock Photography, and the video was he stopped Jake McKitty from Fat Fabs while he was driving it, and Jake told the story behind it. I don't know if you happen to see that.
No, I haven't seen it yet. I saw the post earlier that that van won the Promoter's Choice for this year.
It did, and what was cool is I would tell people I don't want to give it away. Check out Not Stock Photography on YouTube. He catches Jake while he's driving it, and Jake tells the story on how that van is owned by his family and how they acquired it back. It's pretty neat. I had no idea that it was his or connected to his family, rather. But yeah, that thing was cool, man. It brought back the 70s vibes, didn't it?
Yeah, yep.
It was cool seeing Sergio Torres, one of my Severed Ties brothers, at the show. We did a cool little video of his pull-out cassette deck. And, dude, I usually don't look back at the numbers on the reels, but, dude, he had over 10,000 views on it. It just reinforces, Kyle, that when you hit the nostalgia word, nostalgia can be bottled, right? And we think back to all the cool stuff. We talked a little bit about, I couldn't believe you got that trivia question earlier. Miggity Mike wouldn't have gotten it. And, you think back to those things that are just stuck in our heads, the nostalgia. And you just can't, you can't knock it, man.
Yeah, like I remember riding around with my dad when I was younger, and he's playing some weird music from the late 60s and 70s, and now I'm driving around and my 7-year-old sitting next to me listening to Tupac and Biggie, you know what I mean? 25 years later. So yeah, nostalgia's big. I never would have thought that I'd still be listening to the same music 20 years later that I grew up on. Yeah,
it's totally insane, man. The only other one I can think of off the top of my head was for street trucks that I think NC won. I know NC won Club of the Year, so congrats to them, Negative Camber. And I'm sure there's more that we're missing, but the Scene Updates is brought to you by Garage Gear Clothing. You can visit garagegearclothing.com. They do have free shipping options available. They're, of course, at shows nationwide, including Lone Star Throwdown. I think the next couple of shows they'll be at, maybe Altered Metal and Mini Nats. So go by, show them some love, buy a shirt, buy a hoodie, buy a hat. Say what up to Lonnie and team, including Radar. And I know Crystal's over there pulling the puppet strings. GarageGearClothing.com. A few more things before we wrap it up. The show updates, dude. So what I wanted to reinforce to everyone again, our title sponsor, Custom Car Show Productions. Their next event is OBI, Orange Beach Invasion. Again, obishow.com. Now, the key thing here is they are sold out, but spectating is free. So I would encourage you, again, they're not making any money off of you coming down there and parking for free and spectating. It's totally free. There's a lot of different vendors out there. There's a lot of shows, a lot of show goers. So check it out, obishow.com. They have a beautiful map of the location. That's going to be coming up here in 2 weeks. So we are on. This is going to drop on 3/11. No, let me see. I'm in the wrong year. This is going to drop here on March 10th, and then that's 2 weeks away. Pretty cool show, and I would tell people to check it out. It's a good one. I know you've seen the photos of it. Corey Floyd kills it with the nighttime photos with the Ferris wheel.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be one that I want to, make it to at some point.
Yeah, I think it's a fun one. The few other shows I want to highlight just as we go through this. So basically, for those that can't make OBI for whatever reason, which is in conjunction with Keg Media and Custom Car Show Productions, the other event that weekend is Altered Metal. So a lot of folks will be over in Rainy, I think it is, Louisiana, for the Altered Metal show. And ironically enough, Brian and Forbidden Fantasy team out there in Killicali, West Coast, they are having Forbidden Fantasy, and of course that's in Laughlin. That is on 3/25. So those are going down there. For April, we've got Southeast Mini Truck and Nats. That's the 21st, 22nd, 23rd in Maggie Valley, North Carolina. We've got a little bit more coming. I'm going to talk to Jason Bell hopefully on the next episode. And shout out to Sean Rose and David Magatti for what they're doing, spreading the love. There's going to be more information coming. Let's raise some funds for a good cause. Battle in Bama's 3-5, or Battle in Bama's May 5th, 6th, and 7th. Relaxant in the Park St. Louis is the 19th, 20th, and 21st of May. We're going to be at Made of Steel that Friday, Saturday. So Made of Steel show in Dover, Florida, the 19th and 20th. The only other show that I want to reinforce is Scraping the Coast. Again, our title sponsor. That's going to be the 23rd, the 24th, 25th of June. So that'll kind of round us out. Because right now we're in March. So we got March, April, May, and then one there in June at least. And that's kind of the scope. I think 3 months, man. I mean, we could keep rattling dates off, right? I mean, it gets kind of tough for these guys to write all that stuff down, huh, Kyle?
Yeah, I got one more I want to add too.
Please.
It's C10's in the city on June 3rd, and it's going to be in Atlanta. SQRBDY, Rick Cheeseman, is the one putting it on. It's the third one he's had. So I probably should have told you about this earlier, or sent you the event information.
It's all good.
But it's C10sandthecity.com. And like I said, June 3rd. So, maybe we'll get some more crossover listeners here, the C10 community for you. And so I figure I'd
Sure.
throw that date out for us too.
Yeah, C10s with an S in the city, as you said. And certainly you could check that one out as well. The show update's brought to you by minitruckfilm.com. If you didn't know, now you know. The West Coast Influence DVD or Blu-ray and a couple of diecasts can be purchased if you go to minitruckfilm.com. Again, pick up a copy of the West Coast Influence. We had 10 copies that we had acquired from Radar, and we sold all of those at Lone Star Throwdown. So definitely still in demand. It's definitely one to add to the collection, minitruckfilm.com. So listen, before we go into the next thing, we only got a couple more topics left. And what I was curious about is a question I sometimes want to ask listeners, but I don't always remember to. So you've been in the C10, in the full-size game, a little bit of mini trucks as well for 20 years. If someone were to give you an unlimited budget and you had an opportunity to build, like, I hate to say it, your dream truck, right? You've already had some cool stuff. Whether it's a truck, dare I say car, but maybe a truck. What would you build? Is there something on your bucket list that, like, you just want to have, you have to have, that one of these years you'll get? Or are you good with kind of what you've had so far and what you're about to build?
You know what I would really like that don't anymore? A CTS V wagon, a Cadillac CTS V wagon.
Yeah,
I thought
buddy.
those were the dopest rides. Like a station wagon, supercharged, 6.2 liter. Like those things were sick.
Yeah, a girl
So,
in a chick in Severed. She lives in Louisiana now. She has one on Juice, dude.
Oh wow,
Sick.
that is awesome.
Yep.
Like I think I'd like to have one of those. I think at some point that midlife crisis is going to kick in real hard, and I'll probably have to get a Corvette eventually one day. I don't know.
Yeah, well, you gotta. So if you're wearing the ODB outfit, you have to have like white New Balance, maybe some gray high socks on, some kind of gym short deals, right? Maybe a tank top, maybe a white tee, And then if you do all that, and maybe you have your little key fob, because you'd have to have like a Viper alarm, hanging out of your pocket deal, you might get called what I got called last year, like a Corvette owner.
Really?
Yeah, at Mini Nats, I got called out. They go, "Yo, where's your Corvette?"
Wow.
I go, "I don't know, man. Maybe I should get one."
I'll tell you what, though. Like, I think one of the best dressed guys in the scene is got to be Solomon.
Yeah.
That he has some of the best outfits out of anybody out there. He's always fresh. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, and Solo, he's over here. He had told me, I think he announced that his wife was expecting. They're having another child. She's over there gaining weight because she's going to have a baby. He's over there slimming down. I go, dude, that's not the way to treat the old lady. I mean, not that she's old, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, like the last time I saw Solomon, I'm like, where's the other half of him? Did he split in two so he can buy more Ford trucks?
Here's the thing with Solo. I told him, I said, man, you got to leave some, you're going to get there like the king's dinner, right? All the steak and all that. I mean, dude, I'm just looking for the little crumbs, man. I mean, he's got his YouTube channel blowing up. He's over there doing F100 podcasts. And then, of course, he's got the F100 Builder's Guide under his direction. So, but I gave him a big fist bump. And I said, dude, tip of the cap, because he's hustling, man. And he's one of those young up-and-comers.
Yeah, I spent some time with Solomon at LST last week, and I got a lot of information out of him that other people probably haven't got, and it was interesting. Some of the car clubs he's been a part of over the years, and what he's done. So I enjoyed talking to him and bonding over some history.
Hells yeah, man. Now, I do want to reinforce a couple of podcast updates. So I would tell everyone that be on the lookout for Friday. If you're listening to this day one, more than likely I'll have everything ready to rock and roll. We were going to have some cool stuff come out. So one thing you guys have kind of seen, and it ties into hats. So there's been a huge demand, and I know we've been slacking for a few years on hats. We come out with something cool. We pay homage to Mini Truckin, and just people go bananas for it. So I'm super stoked to kind of drop something on you guys on Friday, and then we've also got another surprise. So stay tuned. Save, if you got any tax money coming back, save a few bucks to support some OLP, and we've got some stuff coming for them, Kyle. So I know they're going to be excited, man.
It's all new stuff's always good, and it's always dope when you drop that stuff, man.
We're just trying to keep up with Ronnie, dude. He's always dropping hot stuff. You know what I mean? He's dropping it like it's hot, man. Always.
Yeah, and I just dropped some new OBS Club merch for the OBS Club Maryland this week. It's on the C10 Club Maryland Instagram shop. I'm not quite sure how to set up a shop on a separate Instagram account, but check that out too. Go look at the C10 Club Maryland Instagram page and click on our shop. Got 2 new shirts for the OBS Club, and also the C10 Club Maryland Old Day design. It also dropped.
I love it, man. Definitely check it out. Our stuff's going to be a pre-sale, and look at the description for more information. We try to put it all in there, short and sweet, and it's ourlifestylepodcast.com, or click the link in our Instagram bio. The stuff that you just sent over, Kyle, looks awesome. Love it. OBS Club Maryland. Dare to resist. Square bodies and NBS. Nice.
Yeah, it's the throwback Dare logo. I'm sure you remember the Dare program from school, right?
From Mrs. Reagan. I forget who started that, but it was back, I'm still thinking, when my dad was feeding me eggs as a kid, on the frying pan, I thought he was feeding me drugs because of that damn PSA, this is your mind on drugs. And I was like, oh, damn, I'm not supposed to eat eggs? They had me wigged out for a while, you know what I'm saying? But
yeah.
Now the other podcast update that I wanted to give is Token, Jaytoken. He left a review, 5-star on Apple Podcasts. I kept seeing the Facebook Reels about all the badass cars and trucks, and then he decided to finally listen. He's already 10 episodes in, and he loves it. And it gave him a lot of good memories. So we appreciate you, Token, for peeping it out. I would ask people, if you get an opportunity and you're on an iPhone, go to the pre-installed podcast app. Whether that's what you use or not to consume the podcast, search OLP or go to your library. tap on OLP, and then leave the 5-star rating. If you want to go a step further, write a review. You can tap it in right there with your thumbs. We'll read it on a future episode. We help us get to 300. We're at 284 right now. Most of them are 5 stars, and check us out. We appreciate you there. Podcast updates brought to you by Graphics Mafia. If you need stickers or light design work, go to graphics with an X, mafia.com, GRAPHIX, mafia.com. Good people. Buddy and Ryan will take care of you. So before I cover the Airhead Nation updates and wrap it up, like you and I, we talked about some of the, how you got involved in the truck scene, some of the cool projects that you've had, some of the stuff that you're working on. Why don't you give a shout out to your family, and then we'll see if there's anything else you got to share.
Yeah, so my son, he's 6. He turns 7 next month, and he's big time into cars right now. Like, he has an Xbox. He loves playing Forza. Anytime we go to a car show, the first thing he wants to do is go and look at the speedometer to see how fast it will go. Like, he can look at a car and say, hey, I know that's a C8, and that's what he'll tell you how fast the speedometer is and all this. Like, it's pretty interesting to see a 6-year-old picking this up. So who knows how far into this he's gonna be when he's 40,
Yeah, and what was his name again?
Ryder.
Yep. RYDER?
Yeah, just like the truck, driving down the road, he sees his name all the time.
Dude, I like it. Dude, he's a rider, man. Ride or die.
He is. He loves riding around and some of my clapped out stuff too. Like he loves going to school and in the Suburban. It's so loud. You've seen it. I think Chops and picking him up in the school pickup line. His principal came out one day and was like, "I've never seen a lowrider Suburban."
You're
so
like,
it's pretty interesting.
You're doing things right as a parent when you get that from the principal. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, she loved it. She was all about it. She's like, I wish I had a lowrider Suburban. And I'm like, well, he loves riding to school in it, so here we are.
Yeah.
Try not to do a burnout. Like, that's what he really wants to do. Do a burnout. Nah, son, we're not doing that in front of the school.
Right. We got to, keep it PC, because I'm, we're at work and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. He always wants to go, top speed too. He's like, how come the speedometer says 100? Why aren't we going that? Well, son, just because the good people at General Motors say it goes 100 doesn't mean you have to.
Right. And your better half, they put up with you going to shows?
Oh, I got divorced.
Okay, I wasn't going to bring that up. Okay.
No. So it's all good because I've picked up 6 more vehicles since the divorce.
Dude.
So
my man, dude. I mean, see, You're keeping it on the rise of positivity, man.
Yeah, that's right.
My dad always said, you got to see the positive in everything.
Yeah, sometimes they say it's cheaper to keep her, and it was definitely cheaper to get rid of her and buy 6 more clapped out vehicles.
Oh, now it's all making sense, right? You just tied it up with a big bow. I love it more now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so shout out to Ryder. Your dad's cool. We love seeing him at shows. It's always cool to see, you out there doing the damn thing. Now, why don't you give out your Instagram?
Yeah, so my Instagram is at KD Fannin. First name's Kyle. My middle initial is D for David, and Fannin. That was my email address from probably 30 years ago, and I've just always used, that for everything I've done.
Pump it up, dude.
That's right. Back when I had AOL Instant Messenger, was KD Fannin 02. I don't even know if that thing's still around anymore. Is it? Can you still use AOL Instant Messenger?
I think you can. Hank's still on it. He said that he invented LOL.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, yeah.
I bet he still has ICQ also. Uh-oh.
Dude, I'm from Land O'Lakes, so by him saying he invented LOL, those were like fighting words, dude. I was like, wait, like the butter? So KD Fannin, Fannin, check him out. And then, of course, you can tap in his bio to the C10 Club Maryland. If you're into C10s, if you're in that area, if you just want to link up with the big homie, I mean, check out his feed. He does a lot of cool stuff. I love the Burb with the LS swap. And, all the stuff you got going, I think is cool. So, Airhead Nation updates. Happy born day to Jackie Ford. So, it's Lonnie and Crystal's daughter. And big shout out to her. Our big homie Jeff from Mini Garage, I know he had a misstep, as he said, off the porch, and we hope that he gets well soon, because I got to talk more about it next week. He helped traffic some Mazda parts across state lines because he knows I'm coming after Mike. And he goes, yo, ODB, look, I got a good deal. I'm going to sell you some parts, and we're going to make it happen. So we did that, and I certainly appreciate him doing that. Two people, this is with heavy hearts. There's two people in our truck scene that passed away. One of my severed brothers, I didn't get a chance, based upon when I recorded last 2 weeks ago, to mention that we lost Ryan Leonard. He was an OG, kind of old school severed guy. I don't know if he technically was 92. Always one of the nicest guys, and I appreciate, the conversations I had with him. Really was young. I think he was like 54, 55 years old, and he passed away. Don't know the details, and I wouldn't necessarily share those, but it goes back to what I said earlier. Just get checked out. I know I need to as well, and try to make those doctor appointments, and do whatever you think is right for your health, because we're losing too many people. Frankie Cordova also posted that Richard Morgan, he was a local mini trucker here. I knew him briefly through a few conversations. He passed away as well, and we wish both of them or their families the best in a very, very difficult time. So I wanted to throw that out there. But man, Kyle, what else? It's not easy to follow that, but I just wanted to kind of ask: is there anything else you had to share?
Wow, that's a hard one to follow. I guess get yourself checked out, right? Now that I'm 40 and you're 44, does that mean I get some kind of different check now? I haven't had a physical since I turned 40.
Yeah, I know. My wife's been on me to go get checked out, and it's like we known people that have had health challenges even earlier, especially in her family, and it's like you would think that if you had certain things in your family, they would be like, okay, go ahead and get your preventive thing at 30 or 35, and they're like, nope, we're not paying for that. And it's like, oh, it's a lot of money, and you're like, okay, well, I'll wait till I'm 40, whatever whatever age you tell me that I'm supposed to go get checked out, But some of the stuff, people used to not talk about as much, but I think it's a little bit more wide open, and I know I need to get checked out, because everybody will tell you that's had some health things, and some people that come down with different stuff. It's like the preventive maintenance, if you will, is definitely worth it on our bodies, because this, Kyle. We often put more time and money in preventive maintenance, believe it or not, into our damn rides than we do our own bodies, dude.
Yeah, you're supposed to change the oil in these vehicles?
Right, I know. And Mike's over here, off the top ropes, right, trying to do a wrestling deal. He's practicing. Coming off on mini trucks, He, I told Mike, I said, Mike, that's not good for your back, dude.
Yeah, definitely. You don't want to take the top rope one of the banana hammock, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And he's thinking he's the younger Mike Murray, where he can do the ladder match, like Christian and Edge back in the day, because those guys were like the flying trapeze guys, and I told Mike on the way back, I got to give him the 5 tick marks for driving us there and back. Scotty the Body, shout out, he helped us a lot, and again, he did take over for about 3 hours. We gave Mike a little rest because he did have a bad headache, and then he was sniffing some BC powder or something, and he said it just went away, so I didn't know what that meant, He said he had remember the old Nolan Ryan? He said he had a migraine this big, and it was like as big as the fish you caught last weekend.
Yeah, that's some sketch right there. You're definitely trafficking BC powder across state lines. It sounds like.
Yeah, and we did stop at Buc-ee's, and Mike jumped up because he went and got him a sandwich, and then he did feel better. So I think he just had a little bit of a he was pissed. Sitting in that damn 6, dude. I'm not making this up. I-75 North, Waze goes, there's no route. It was Waze doing a mic drop, F this amount. So
that definitely did not look fun. I'm not envious of the travels coming out of Florida that everybody got into.
Yeah, and apparently the towing company, they were supposedly, I tried to find more information on this to kind of validate the story, but someone commented and said that Steps came out and said they were permitted for that route. I don't know anything about that kind of stuff, but apparently they give them flags, and there's teams that sign off on because they've measured and stuff. But somebody brought up a good point. There's a lot of construction going. If they repave something and it's a few inches higher, Who knows? But someone, I'm sure, is going to be to blame in that one. But at the end of the day, we got there safe. Nobody was, we lost some hours. We surfed Facebook while Mike was driving, of course. And we just watched Mike in his anguish while we just had a good time, man.
Hey, at least you weren't in the back of a transport van like last time.
Yeah, Scotty the Body, and that's why Ryan, we go, Ryan, are you coming with us? He goes, do you have the van again? And we just yeah, we got it. He goes, nah, I can't, man. He goes, dude, I got something going on. He had to get his hair cut. I go, dude, you're bald. He goes, yeah, but, I got to, relace my Jordans or something. I was like, all right, man.
If you had the pumps, you wouldn't have that problem.
Right, pump it up. Like D Barnes back in the day, pump it up. But Kyle Fannin, give him a follow, C10 Club Maryland. I appreciate you letting me kind of wrap some of intertwine some of the questions. Hopefully the listeners liked it. A little bit different as we kind of get sideways into 2023. And we can definitely get sideways with the burb. Your burb is the word.
Oh, the burb definitely gets sideways. It is the word.
Burb is the word.
And you can have 6 or 7 of your closest friends in the back of that while you get sideways.
Yeah, or 200 skate decks. Let's be honest, from Joey at Get Dag.
That's right. I feel like next year it's probably going to be 300 skate decks.
It probably will be. But as long as you're not driving from Florida up 75, you won't have any scares like we did.
Yeah, there's a big problem if I'm coming to LST from Florida. But
Real Deal Holyfield. Well, Kyle, we're going to be on the lookout. Hopefully you can continue the partnership with Street Trucks. We're looking forward to seeing what you got with the C10, Detroit Steel Co., as well as QA1. But stay on the rise, our brother. Let's get you back on. And again, we're going to have to check with the Airhead Nation. They may want to have you as the new co-host. We'll have to see, man.
You might have to fly me in. I gallivant, but I'm usually available to pick up the phone. I just don't understand that Mike Murray guy.
Real Deal Holyfield. Dude, Kyle, thanks for all the support. Stay trucking and stay on the rise, our brother.
All right. Thanks, Jason.
We out here?
We out here.
My man.